So you guys may or may not have heard, but 5280 magazine recently came out with their top 8 Denver suburbs. You're not going to believe what came in at number 1, and spoiler alert, it actually happens to be where I've been living for the last few years, and it's one of my favorite spots too. Really excited to share this brand new episode of Living in Denver with you. Let's go. All right, guys, as I said, today's going to be all about 5280 magazine, which, by the way, is a phenomenal publication. You can get it in print copy, but also online. If you're considering moving to Denver or just want to learn more about the Mile High City, Denver, Colorado, definitely check it out because they've got some great content that they put out on a monthly basis. But recently, they featured an article all about their top 8 Denver suburbs. In this video today, I'm going to be sharing with you guys what came in the number 1 spot. And guess what? It happens to be Littleton, Colorado. Littleton, Colorado is where I currently also live, and I love this part of town. It's on the southwestern side of Denver, and it has a lot going for it, and I'm excited to share a bunch of not only why they chose it, but also why I personally continue to live on this part of Denver. And I gotta tell you, you guys are definitely gonna wanna learn more about this place if you don't know about it. But before we get started, as always, my name is Adam Lang. I'm a licensed realtor here in Denver, Colorado, but more importantly, I'm a 40+ year Denver and Colorado native. I've been here my whole life, and I don't plan on going anywhere. So I love sharing videos just like this one you're about to watch to hopefully help you also decide if this might be the next best place for you to lay your head and have this be your new home. So before we get started, all that info down below. If you guys have any questions as you watch this video, feel free to reach out. And even if you don't, I would love to connect with you guys, share value in any way I can, regardless of if you're serious about buying a home out here. I just love connecting with my audience. So feel free to reach out. All that info is down below. And you guys can also hit that like and that subscribe button to be the first to be notified every single week when new videos just like this come out. Let's go ahead and get started though. Enough about that. I want to talk first about where Littleton is located. So if you look on the map, Littleton is located on the southwestern side of Denver, and it actually covers right around 12 to 14 square miles. It's about 10 miles southwest of Denver, like I said. And when it comes to commute times, you're looking at about 45 minutes to get out to the airport and closer to 20 to 30 minutes, depending on traffic, for you to get from Littleton to downtown Denver. And one of the other things I love about Littleton is its proximity to other suburbs and neighborhoods all around it. Just to the north, you've got areas like Lakewood. A little bit to the north and to the west, you've got areas like Wheat Ridge and Golden. You also have some areas a little bit to the south and southeast like Highlands Ranch and even Roxborough. And just due east, you've got places like Centennial, Inglewood, some of the areas that have very expensive homes. But not only that, just really nice shopping, but overall great dining, great places to go out and enjoy a drink with friends. Just a very centralized area that has a lot going for it, not only in Littleton, but also in all the areas around it. And if you happen to be big into the outdoors like I am, one of the reasons I love Littleton is because you do have direct access to the western slope. Since it's already on that western side of town, if you're trying to get up to the mountains or even maybe just going up to Red Rocks to go catch a concert, since you're on that western side of town, it's just that much closer and easier to get to. And that might not sound like a big deal if you're maybe not that familiar with the different areas around Denver, but let's just use skiing for an example. If you like going up skiing on the weekends and you really want to just get up, be one of the first people on the mountain, man, I'll tell you what, if you're in the Littleton or maybe even to the west and north like Wheat Ridge and Golden, you have such an amazing jump start on all the other people in town because it is about 20 to 30 minutes closer in a lot of cases than those other parts of town like Aurora, maybe up north like Thornton, or just even in that actual city of Denver in places like Wash Park, Montclair, or even by the University of Denver campus. So long story short, you really are in a very opportune, great location with Littleton when it comes to not only getting up to the mountains, but also just to get all around town. So one of the reasons why I really think this is one of the best places in and around Denver to call home. Now, when it comes to real estate, there's obviously a very wide range of types of homes as well as price points, but it does have a little bit higher price point as far as the median sales price of homes than some of the other areas in Denver. So like, for example, this past year, we saw the median sales price a little bit over $600,000. I think it was $617,000 to be exact. And the median household income in Littleton is just over $95,000. The last time I checked, it was about $96,000. It also has great school systems as far as how they are rated. I talk about this in a lot of my other videos, but check out niche.com if you want more specific info on that. They've got some really good resources there, but there are several schools that are ranked in the A and even the A+ in a couple cases. So really, really good school systems for a lot of people, and that's why they choose to be in this side of town. But enough about all those metrics and data points. What I really want to talk about is a little bit more of like personal experience and why I love this place, as well as why 5280 magazine chose it as their #1 Denver suburb out of obviously a lot of other very tight competitors. You know, there's a lot of great places all around Denver, so don't feel like this is the only place that really ranks at the top. Several others are also, I think, very close among those top contenders. But one of the reasons I choose here is because it's direct access to downtown Littleton. And this is an area that I have a lot of clients that come out to Colorado, maybe people like yourselves, viewers that are from out of state that are considering moving here. When that happens, I take a lot of my clients out to check out downtown Littleton because it has some of the best walkability of any part of Denver. Lots of really cool like mom and pop type restaurants and shops, boutique places like spice shops and different cool toy stores, just all kinds of really cool locally owned and operated businesses, which are, I think, a little bit harder to find these days. And Littleton has a very good selection of this. So if that's important to you, this definitely is high on the list when it comes to that local community type feel. Now, there are different areas in Littleton in addition to that downtown Littleton area, and two of the others that I definitely want you guys to know about. First one is an area called Sterling Ranch, and Sterling Ranch is actually a little bit to the southwest of where I live in Grant Ranch. More about Grant Ranch here in a second. But Sterling Ranch is a master plan community, so it's a very new area that's continuing to get built over the next few years. Hopefully it'll be almost completed. And one reason why a lot of people are finding themselves choosing Sterling Ranch is you have some amazing views of the mountains to the west, but also you have really good accessibility to Roxborough, which has some of the coolest, most unique views of anywhere in Colorado. It almost feels like you're in, Sedona, or a place that has some of this really dramatic, beautiful red rock backdrops. It's also a place that has some of the best golf courses in the entire state. My personal favorite is also in this area, so check out Arrowhead if you guys have never heard of Arrowhead Golf Club. It's one of the coolest, my favorite in the entire state. So Arrowhead Golf Course is a must-see if you guys are golfers. Now, in addition to Sterling Ranch, we also have Grant Ranch, which I said is where I live. And what I love about Grant Ranch is it's actually also a master plan community, so similar to Sterling Ranch in that regard, but it's much more established. It's been around for about 30 years, and one of the things about Grant Ranch that I think is very unique and very desirable to a lot of people is there's a lot of water around Grant Ranch. In fact, there's actually Bowles Reservoir #2, which is only about 200 feet from my house. So a lot of times in the afternoon or evening, I'll even just grab my paddleboard with my dog Charlie, and we'll go out for an evening and just enjoy being out on the water, which I know that might not sound that special to some of you guys if you have a lot of water at home, but in Denver, it's pretty rare to find places that have that easy access to water. So if you guys are into water sports and just like being out around it, this is one of the spots that you might want to check out because, again, it's pretty rare to find. Now, I said at the very beginning of this video why I personally choose here and why also I think 5280 magazine chose this as their top spot, and that's this outdoor lifestyle and how it really embraces a more active and outdoor lifestyle. And one of the ways that they do this is through all of the open space and trail systems all around Littleton. In fact, there's actually over 1,400 acres of open space and trails just within the Littleton area. There's also over 200 miles of biking trails. And if you're more into the motorized water sports, meaning going water skiing, wakeboarding, maybe even wake surfing, all of that can also be done in Littleton by going out to Chatfield Reservoir, which is, in my opinion, one of the best reservoirs in Denver. There's really only a few that you can choose from if you're into water sports, and that would be Cherry Creek Reservoir as well as Chatfield. And Chatfield has really nice views as well to the west, and it's just a very easy and accessible place to get your boat on the water. So if that's something that you guys really like, definitely check out Chatfield Reservoir. And then one last thing I want to share when it comes to why 5280 magazine chose Littleton, it has to do with community. So obviously we have a lot of people that are continuing to come and move to Denver. Not as much as we used to see, but there's still a very large amount of people moving to Denver. And, it's a big city. So oftentimes it's hard to really find that connection with your neighbors and have a good, solid community. And Littleton is one of these areas that I think, despite its size, still really embraces that. And part of that is because there's these little kind of micro neighborhoods within Littleton. And in those micro neighborhoods, you have the ability to really connect more with your fellow neighbors, people that live in those micro neighborhoods. So places like I had just shared with you, like Sterling Ranch, downtown Littleton, as well as Grant Ranch. Within each of these, since there are so many trails and outdoor spaces, what I've found is oftentimes you'll go out at the same time, maybe almost every day for a walk, or for me, it's taking my dog out in the afternoons, and you start to see familiar faces. And this is something you just really don't find as much when you're in the more densely populated areas closer to downtown Denver. I used to live in Sloan Lake, which is just due west of downtown Denver. A lot of people, very, very popular. And Sloan Lake is actually also a great park that you can walk around. It's a little over 2 miles. And there's just so many people that I just really had a harder time finding familiar faces and connecting with people in comparison to Littleton, which does have a little bit more of that suburb feel. But there are benefits to that, and one of those being you start to recognize people a little bit more, and people just seem to be a little bit more laid back and friendly when you're in an area that has a little less people and isn't quite as densely populated. Maybe since you're not seeing people, every 2 seconds on the trail, when you do see somebody like you do in Littleton, since it's a little bit more of a rare occurrence, you just take that little extra acknowledgement, actually wave to them, maybe even stop and talk to them for a minute. So I just really love that about Littleton, especially in Grant Ranch where I live, but also in downtown Littleton. Downtown Littleton has a ton of great community activities. Throughout the year, there's different big events that they host in the downtown Littleton area. Last year, we were actually just randomly grabbing dinner one night, and they had this massive bike race going all throughout all of downtown Littleton, and hundreds of people, and just things like that. Things that you're unexpectedly, but also very happily surprised about when you just kind of come across it without knowing about it ahead of time. A lot of that kind of stuff happens when you're in this Littleton area. And I just think that's one of the reasons why not only myself, but why 5280 Magazine picked it as their #1 top suburb. But before we close this video out, I do also want to talk for a second about maybe a few negatives, or at least things that you should be aware of if this is a place that you might want to consider moving and living in. And the first thing I want to talk about is just its accessibility to downtown Denver. Now, if you are somebody that still does need to commute to downtown Denver for work, Littleton is a little bit further away than some of the more urban settings. And because of that, you're going to have a little bit longer drive time. Where I live, I always take a road known as Highway 85, or as the locals call it, we call it Santa Fe. What's nice about Santa Fe is it's not quite as busy as the bigger highways like I-25 or even I-70. So when you have the ability to take Santa Fe, like you do in most of the areas around Littleton, you just can really avoid a lot of that really bad congestion in the mornings and afternoons, that rush hour traffic. And it's just a very efficient and straight shot to downtown Denver. But we also do have really good public transportation options if you are in the Littleton area, and one of those being the light rail. So light rail is really popular here in Denver, and we have a very straight shot with the light rail. You can pick it up from downtown Littleton, and it's known as the D line. And if you're even trying to get out to the airport, or really wherever you're trying to use public transportation, what's nice is that D line connects directly into Union Station, which is in downtown Denver, and from there you can pretty much take it anywhere. You can go out to the airport, you can even take it out further west, or even to other parts of Denver that you're just trying to go out and visit. So, Denver doesn't have the best public transportation system. There are still some areas that just don't have very much service available to them, but it's getting better. And if you're in the Littleton area, you already do have the majority of it already built out, so it won't be too much of an issue or an inconvenience if you live on this southern side of Denver. Now, another maybe negative to some people would just be that Littleton does have not the best nightlife. It is a suburb, so it's not right in the thick of it like you might find in areas like Wash Park or even Sloan Lake, where I had mentioned I used to live. When you're closer into the city, you are going to have more options available, so you might not have the nightlife that you have in those areas when you live in Littleton, but there's still a ton of very, very good restaurants, bars, and personally, I love music, live music, and we have Red Rocks Amphitheater, which is only about a 10 to 15 minute drive, even a little bit closer than that depending on where you live. If you're on the western side of Littleton, it could be under 10 minutes. And if you haven't been to Red Rocks Amphitheater yet, you got to put that on your list. It is the coolest music venue in the world, and having it so close to you is just awesome. It's one of my favorite parts about being in Denver, and especially in Littleton since it's that much closer. So definitely go to Red Rocks if you haven't been yet. And if you do, leave me a comment down below or shoot me a message. I'd love to hear who you saw and what your experience was like. And then one last thing, since I am a realtor and a lot of my viewers watch this for real estate info, the real estate in Littleton has continually been going up and up and up year after year. So if you are on a bit of a budget, Littleton might be an area that you have a little bit more difficult time with affordability. But I am going to push back and say that with Littleton, they have so many different styles of housing, whether it be townhomes, condos, single-family homes, luxury single-family homes. You really have a little bit of everything, which can be rare. Other parts of Denver, you're kind of limited to maybe one or two options, where in Littleton, you have almost everything. So there really is a micro neighborhood, as I said earlier, in Littleton that might serve what you're looking for. If it's something that you're really, really passionate about, I guarantee we can find a place that fits what you're looking for. Whenever I'm talking to people that are considering moving and buying a home out here, one example or a little exercise I like to do with them is basically you have three things. You've got your price point, you have the condition of the home, and you have the location. Usually we can get two out of those three pretty well. Sometimes we can find a home that fits all three of those, but at least two, that's most common. So maybe it's price and maybe it's location. Well, there's areas in Littleton that we're going to be able to find for you. In that case, it's just that third one, the condition of the home. That one we might have to be a little bit more creative with. Maybe it's an older home that needs a little bit of fixing up, or maybe it's just a home that was built back in the 50s and over the next few years after you purchase, maybe you have to account for some sweat equity, meaning you're fixing up the home yourself, maybe improving some little features of the home like painting it, maybe updating the flooring, improving the landscaping, all kinds of things, but you get the point. So long story short, there are definitely lots of housing options out here. And I think if you are serious about wanting to be on that western side of town, this could be a great option for you. And I hope you guys want to check it out. And on that note, down below in the show notes, as well as I'll put a little link on the bottom of the screen here, check out my latest, it's a living in Denver guide, but really it's a locals guide. I put it together last year and it just includes 20 of my favorite neighborhoods all around Denver, not just Littleton. And spoiler alert, all 8 of the Denver suburbs that 5280 magazine identified, all 8 of those are included in my guide. It's totally free. I just made it just to help you guys out. So if you want a free copy, just click that link down below and it'll get sent to you. So with all that being said, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Did a kind of a quick one here for you, just to try and give you as much info as I could about the #1 suburb from 5280 magazine. Hope you enjoyed it. If you guys have any questions at all though, more than anything, I'd love to connect with you guys. So feel free, reach out. My phone number, email, all that info is down below. And if you don't feel comfortable reaching out quite yet, check out my website. It's adamsalesdenver.com. I've got all kinds of other great resources on there that you might want to check out. And if you are getting to that point where maybe you're at least entertaining the idea of buying a home out here in Denver, Colorado, maybe next year, 2026, check out my live and free Denver Homebuyer Masterclasses. We're hosting them every single month. And like I said, they're free, they're online, very easy to join. Just click the link down below or just go to webinar.adamsalesdenver.com and grab a free seat. They do fill up every single month. So just make sure you guys do that soon and grab your seat to the next one. Not only do I talk about just what it takes to buy a home here in Denver, Colorado, also share some really good strategies on if it's a competitive market, how to make sure that if you do find that home of your dreams, you don't end up losing out on it and you get your offer accepted and it becomes your next home. So I love doing these every month and hopefully you guys can be on the next one so I can meet you there as well. With all that being said though, have a great rest of your day. Reach out if you need anything and I'll see you next week on a brand new episode of Living in Denver. I'll see you then.